Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. And good evening to all the guests and the presenter as well. Sorry, we do not have Miss Sundas here today to start up with the Nashrif, but as you know, it's a scheduled meeting with honorable guests. Mr. Naveed, Miss Sundas can't hear us, but she's still with us. Miss Claire Badwell, Scotland, and Laura and Ghazala as well. And there are many more behind the screen. So let's go to Mr. Naveed Ahmad. Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Naveed Ahmad. Sorry, Mr. Saeed Ahmad. Sorry.
Walaikum
There
assalam.
was Mr. Naveed Ahmad as well. He just left. Sorry. Yes?
Well, thank you, sister. Of course. So I think I can see Sister Sundas Ali's picture.
We have
She
sound
appears to be
issues.
with us. But
Yes.
by all means, we can start the program. But I'm still waiting from Sister Shabana. She gives a go ahead to go live.
Yes, we are live, sir.
Okay, thank you. So you want? So we'll continue. I'll brief everyone in reference
Yes,
to our
Mr.
last.
Said Ahmad, please start. Please start up. Sorry, I was just saying because our sound wasn't really accurate as before, so that's why I started talking first to make sure if the sound is fine, if everybody can hear me finally.
We can hear you fine. Absolutely.
Yeah, I can hear you.
But what the we have Sister Sundar's voice. Her mic is off. Sister Sundar, can you hear me?
Gigi.
Please, if you can start the program with the Nachi, as we normally do. That's a request.
Yeah, there is a little audio issue, but Mr. Said, you can please start.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان
So we'll go with Sister Ashwa Ali. So you just want to continue without the Nat, Chief? Is that what you're saying?
I'm sorry, I know, I think Miss Sundar's having some audio problems, and maybe we can start off with without Naat Sharif.
Okay, we'll do that. No problem. So quickly, I want to just update everybody on our last 5th September, 5th of November meeting, and which was the first meeting. It's very, very productive,
Yep.
and it was we made great success, and obviously I think everybody's very positive about it, and everybody I spoke to earlier on as well. So what we're gonna do is, if I can quickly brief you, and in reference to United Nations organization, we discussed how we can actually put pressure on via the MPs in the United Kingdom as well as the MPs in USA as well and rest of the world as well. So, and also we spoke about political prisoners and how we can support the leadership back into Kashmir. So it can be active, fairly active, or we can support some of the civilians in Kashmir that we can bring up from you from Europe or the West. And one of the worst things I guess stuck in my throat when I the rapes and child abuse, and obviously the whole regional abuse, which is very sad, and we are unable to bring the Indian um, government and especially Modi's government to for the crimes they are committing, and that's a very important one. And I think the crimes on India need to be discussed today as well. So I just make a note of that. And if you guys can help me in reference to the crime, and I think we need to write to our MPs. That's what we discussed. And if you can highlight whatever pictures or whatever the crimes you see, obviously I've seen there was one video went viral, and I cannot remember the child's name was. She was 11-year-old, and her father was brutally killed right in front of her. Then obviously she asked a question to the soldier, or uncle, what wrong had my father done for you to slaughter him like this, but which was very, very sad. And obviously, I think I can't remember the names, the two gentlemen that died, but we will get them. But obviously, and going on from there, let Kashmir decide, which I've been supporting, Sister Claire Bidwell's organization. Obviously, we are all together as well. British Pakistani Women's Society of UK, and as well as Taraf organization, which we are shared the last month's fifth meeting on the groups as well. And I don't get any negative feedback. It's only positive that everybody praising us for to continue our work, and that would be great to do. And Thursday nights with Sister Claire Bidwell and another sister from the USA, and then we can continue on our Kashmiri tea, which is the program, Sardar tea, and then we've got Karak tea, which I've been looking into this month as well, following our program, which is Karak tea. I had twice, which is basically from Punjab, which is Punjab is a, if I can just highlight, I think it's a major, major reason, which the Sikh community is calling Khalistan, and with the help from Imran Khan, Prime Minister Imran Khan, and Prime Minister Modi, which the Sikh community are, I think they're very, very proactive, and they have gained some ground in reference to that, and in campaigning from London. We also need to look into that, and I think we need to study it more. And I think a lot of people in our last program, a lot of you guys activists, mentioned that we are for 70 years or so, you're unable to wake our community to help, um, to help and have some kind of a solution for Kashmir or even for Palestine and all the other countries that are suffering from fascism. And I think I'll stop on that. Then we got another point I would like to make, which we touched on last meeting, which was Srinagar, which the Indian-owned Kashmir side called the Wali. It is obviously Wali, and my grandparents were from there as well. And I feel very sad. Srinagar in itself, and that's what the little child I mentioned. That's where she was in Srinagar, in the valley. Now we can actually support, those kind of people to actually campaign further, and especially in reference to social media. And I think I'll stop on that. And then we've got resources in Kashmir, and somebody mentioned that the reason the West doesn't want to touch it because it doesn't have any oil. Okay, but it does have the water flows from through Kashmir to India and Pakistan. I will now name some of the rivers. Well, I know that there's River Panch and River Ravi, which goes in Pakistan. Uh, River Panch, I think, goes in India, and I think a few other rivers. And we've got River Jhelum, which my family resides next to, and that's where our roots are. And obviously, most of the water that flows into Pakistan and India is going through Kashmir, and that's an agreement, and we would require, with the help from the, if I'm talking about my country, then from the help of the UK government, and if you can link up with the MPs, majority of the MPs or MP friendship, to help the Kashmir, they want to have an agreement that the Kashmir will never ever defriend itself from Pakistan or India, and will never become a nuclear power, and nor so we will ever, take over, so that we can actually go to war with India or Pakistan, and that will never happen in our lifetime. Will never happen in our children's lifetime. So we need to have an agreement on the river flows can't be controlled by India and Pakistan, and we will never stop providing water. We will never stop the water, flowing through the Indian economy as well as Pakistan economy. And I'll just make a quick note of that. We can discuss it with the rest of the. Thank you. I think a couple of more points. Sister Aswa Ali from Glasgow. I think she's here again, which I'm very proud to. I think I heard Sister Aswa Ali, with a heartfelt, um, plead to help the Kashmiri people, and obviously helping ourselves as well at the same time. Obviously, I've been an activist campaigner for Palestine and Kashmir since 2014, and I have my family. I've got three small children, which are dependent, and it's not obviously my first priority. Absolutely, I will give up. Like I vowed last meeting as well, and I will commit myself to helping Kashmir, and I will do everything that's possibly in my powers to continue with you people to help and all everybody that's listening as well, because we are sharing these videos afterwards, and all the people that are now waking up, and we're trying to wake them up, and so we can when we have a live campaign or live demonstration, they can come and at least stand there and listen to us rather than be go on a mic and do something, or financially they can support or physically they can support. And thank you. And uh, and obviously, uh, Sister Laura, as Marshall Stundle.
Just, yeah, you could
I'm
just
so
call me
sorry. I
Laura.
apologize. Sister Laura, her points were in reference to the narrative, how we can undermine the Indian narrative, as well as the opposite of undermine would be like to help or support the Pakistani narrative, and how the Pakistani narrative, people like us, can can help the government to show the people that the region, the Pakistan, as well as Azad Kashmir, or the all of the Pakistan side of Kashmir, we can have a narrative that the people can accept, the West, especially in my country, UK, and the US can accept that yes, Pakistan is doing something, and I think we are very uh, privileged, and we are very blessed from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from God. We are very, very blessed. I feel so much blessed that I have you guys helping me, and we have found this platform, and we are absolutely blessed. And I think this blessing we can actually send over, rather than like financial support, the military support, or whatever. This blessing we can send over to the Pakistan region to help the Kashmiris. And obviously, Pakistan, the last Pakistani government, which is I can they did similar thing to the what's the region next to Zal Kashmir on Pakistan? Can anybody help me? Because it's just not coming in my mind at the moment. Um, the Pakistan side Kashmir. So basically, that needs to be, especially Azad Kashmir needs to be absolutely Azad. Azad means free, so it needs to be free Kashmir and self-determined. So we need self-determination in reference to that. So when that becomes free, then we'll carry on the other regions as well, carry on our campaign. So um, I think we'll start off with Claire Bidwell, so we can follow on from there, and maybe some help from Sister Ashfa Ali as well as Sister Laura. Mm, please, Claire Bidwell.
Yeah, hello, thank you to the British Pakistan's Women's Society for running this, having this live where we can show, the meeting and the discussion we're having. I mean, it's really important, I think, that we do have so many, the cross section, because there's so much division within the Kashmiri freedom struggle, that anything that we can do to help build that unity for the rights for Kashmiris, for humanity, is really key. So this is great. So, Solidarity Day for Kashmir, which we're having every fifth, the main focus of that is to stand in solidarity with Kashmiris, show Kashmiris that we are with them. I think for this case, particularly in Indian occupied Kashmir, because they are being silenced further all the time. And as we discussed last time about the political prisoners, I think in the last time we've discussed, we've seen Kurran Parviz, a human rights defender, arrested, and he's now in Tahar jail. So when they're coming for the human rights activists now, after coming for the ordinary people, the media, the photographers, anybody that's been speaking out, the young people, and now human rights defenders, it's silencing everybody. It's trying to give the message to other human rights activists, don't speak up or we're coming for you next. So it's quite alarming, really. And I think it's want to uplift the spirits of the people in Kashmir, Indian occupied Kashmir, that can't speak, let them know that we're here with them. But ultimately, of course, we believe that let Kashmir decide solution, regardless of what ideology people want, we need to get to that situation where Kashmiris can decide. Because at the moment, sadly, we don't seem to be anywhere near that. I saw somebody commented up on the screen earlier that everybody seems to be talking about it, but nobody seems to be taking action. Now, he may have meant on the ground as opposed to just on screen, but I think it's important for us to recognize the Kashmir issue, or for people watching, the Kashmir issue is not widely recognized in our societies. We know it because we're ensconced in it, we're aware of it, we're working with people with it. But there's a lot of people on the streets in general, because it's not in our mainstream media, that don't know. So our work, of course, as we know, is to raise the awareness. So we may be talking about it, but we have to raise the awareness and try and reach people beyond us that can help, because people power will be the only thing that will get us through United Nations doors, through our government's doors, because not enough people are listening at the moment. So I think that's one of the key things while we're here, isn't it? That solidarity and raise awareness. The issues, I think, Syed, as you said, it's important that we're always solution focused, so that by the end of this meeting, the same at last one, we have some goals and we have some aims. And one of the things we were going to try and do was reach out to more MPs to support our Solidarity Day, was to see if we could get one alongside us to join us. As we discussed earlier, we are reaching out. We've done that. I think all of us have written letters over Kurran Parvez. So because we have those links between us, we are able to be active and share those and build the movement. So, anybody interested in coming along and joining any of us, they just need to contact any of us on here. We were discussing, I think it's a key one for us all, is the power of the Indian lobby. So this is where we're feeling a lot of the MPs now are a bit shy in coming. Well, it feels to me like some of them are shy in coming forward because of their party lines. We know a lot of the Palestinian activists are being deemed as anti-Semitic, so a lot of them seem to be keeping quiet. And, we did have a lot of support from Lords and MPs earlier on in our programme awareness, and it's disappointing to see that that's not raised. Sarah Owens joined us for tea on the last month. And again, I think the power of the Indian lobby somehow is within there. So it's stopping it getting out in the media. It's making political parties who are getting funded by the RSS, and Indian BJP to speak in favor of India. And I think that has to be, well, I think it is one of the main reasons that we are being stopped in our progress. And so I don't know, we've got to find ways to get into the mainstream media. Humanity, that what's happening is it's becoming worse. I think since we last spoke, we've seen cordon search operations, we've seen people getting caught, innocent people in crossfires. Judicial system all over the place needs a revamp, re-looks at, and a lot of just crimes going on, and again, of course, Kurran Parviz. So it's incumbent on us to bring all this out and keep making those links and go for unity, and of course keep writing to MPs. So by the end of this, hopefully we can have a couple of steps of action that we can all try, even if it's going back to the MPs and trying to gain support for Solidarity Day. I'm not sure, but we've got to keep fighting, we've got to keep going forward, but sometimes it feels a very steep mountain to climb.
Let me stop you there. I think what you missed is the Thursday night, your Thursday night program with the lady from US. Can you just update us with that one, please? Claire?
Oh, sorry, I thought that question was for somebody else. Can you repeat
No,
that?
for yourself. I'm not finished. We're not done with you yet. So your Thursday night program, half an hour program. Can you just update us with that as well, please, quickly?
I didn't quite catch the end of your question, but you're
Can
talking
you
about the
can you up,
JK.
can you update the about the Thursday night program that you're doing, and we are sharing
Yeah,
on social media as well, please?
yeah. So it's on JKTV. We're sharing it on the Let Kashmir Decides page. I'm sharing it on my own page. There's the Let Kashmir Decide Global Coalition page. There is, of course, the Let Kashmir Decide group. And then people that I share it to are then also sharing that outwards. So it's myself and Mary Scully from the USA. Mary Scully is a political writer and human rights activist. And so we invite guests on, and we're trying to bring insight into what's happening in Indian occupied Kashmir and bring it out, and obviously we want to bring it out to the ordinary person. I think by looking at the viewing figures at the moment, it's still within the Kashmiri echo chamber, as I call it. But it's all we can keep doing is bring these out, bring these stories out, make suggestions for action, because that is key for me. I think, we all have a different role to play in this freedom struggle, and we're all like a cog in the part of the mechanic. So for my role, I see as the raising awareness and obviously campaigning. I think it's as a campaigner to raise the people, but also raise support for Kashmir. And I think that's part of what we're hoping to achieve with that. I do, I used to keep my own personal Facebook page personal, but then I thought, well, actually, if I want the Kashmiri issue to come out to ordinary people of the world, then it needs to come out on my page. So that's something else that I'm doing. And slowly, I have friends supporting it who then share, that goes out further. So we do at least have some of that on social media. We're hoping to interview different human rights activists from around the world on the show. So we also get insight into what's happening in other countries. So we just saw, we had Lee Rhiannon on, an ex-senator and human rights activist from Australia, on Thursday night. And as she was saying, in Australia, it's a very similar situation to us here. It's a right-wing government. India's not shown within their media, and it's all about the economy. So we're fighting this battle in many countries. We had Mood Fez from London in the UK. He's a JKLF campaign manager. He's also the Lib Dem chair, Friends of Kashmir, and very democratic. His Fez has a very good overview, and he's able to really get to the heart of matters and also be on campaigning. And I think it's people like that and like us here that we need in this movement. And I think we're always looking for people. The new one we're trying to do and are struggling at it at the moment, but it's another one for discussion, is to raise a Kashmiri society in every university. So I've put out posters at the moment. I've got a WhatsApp group. I've got about 4 or 5 students from universities at the moment, which is a start, and I'm not complaining. However, what I'm trying to work out is, are the students of today a different breed to what they were 30 or 40 years ago? I'm trying to work out, maybe I should be going for the older people with the campaign. I don't know what the issue is that I'm not getting a lot of support back. Maybe I just need to keep hammering, and maybe with more of us reaching out. I kind of feel we just need one powerful student activist that can take this on, because you can link now with social media so easier to other universities. If you set up a group, then you reach out for others, and they must have friends, Kashmiri friends. I recognize there's a challenge for Kashmiris from out with the country, because obviously they're coming here under a lot of expense and on sponsorship, and they can't risk offending our government or our country, as it were. So there is that challenge. But that's, if we could get into, I just kept feeling, if we could get into universities, these are the students, the young students don't have any responsibilities like the older people have. They don't tend to have families. They don't tend to have their homes. they're less to worry about. So I think that is an area that we could look into too. And if we do have any students, activists, Palestinian peace people, Amnesty, that could help Kashmir, it would be wonderful to hear from them and be able to take this movement forward, because we could have voices on the towns, on all our streets, spreading this awareness, even just Kashmiri societies where they're sharing their culture. It doesn't necessarily have to be, campaigners on the streets. Anything they can do to share their culture within their will help, because Kashmiri is just not well known enough. So I think I'd love to see us reaching out for students and trying to create a student movement.
Thank you. Thank you. I think I just want to highlight, I think, some of the points which Claire had made, which is, I think, the MPs, is for us to have an MP on this platform right along with us, and that which will boost all our own selves as well to continue our work. Well, the MPs and the elected mayors. I mean, I've got a name we discussed earlier on, like MP Rachel Owen and then MP Zara Sultana, MP Naz Shah, and I think it's one of the if you can, Claire and Sister Shabana, if you can help us invite them and come and speak here, and that would be great for us. And the MP, the elected mayors, which is the Lord Mayor Nazir, which we went to a demonstration in, I think it was 23rd of May 2019, before the pandemic, when all of the UK helped us and we actually locked down, when all the coaches, all the traffic stopped, in London for the day. We made great movement there, which was helped by Lord Nazir. And I think he needs to be aware of this program, as well as Mayor Habib Rahman from Newcastle, and then I've got Mayor Council Javed from Stockton, elected mayor. And then we also have elected mayor Andy Preston, who's helping me in various other campaigns and projects. So I mentioned Council Javed because he's also been helping us for a good number of years, and he can come and speak here as well. I think he's been invited. We can invite Council Javed first, perhaps. MP Andy Preston and Mayor Andy Preston, and we got the PTI activists. I've got a couple of Mobeen Melli, which is I'm working with here, and we've got some of the PTI hierarchy throughout the country of England. We can invite, and we have some support to actually have them on here. So that'll be quite good, and that's I think that'll be the strategy for next 5th of January or 5th of February, perhaps, or maybe the 5th of March. We can have like 3 months, like in our view, so we can make steadfast, so very fast progress to actually help the Kashmiris from suffering. So thank you, Sister Claire. So Sister Laura. Laura Standel.
Well, one thing I would like to note is that Peter Friedrich does some excellent investigative journalism work uncovering the extent to which Hindutva activism has infiltrated various foreign governments. As far as like Tulsi Gabbard's campaign and a few other people's campaigns for Congress were funded by the Overseas Friends of the BJP, and there have been campaign funding from HSS, and that's really helpful for voters to know. And however much money the Hindutva lobby spends, that doesn't necessarily translate into votes, because what candidates need to win are votes. And there are arguments that can appeal to right or left. Like if you want to appeal to maybe somebody more on the right wing, like in the US, for example, the idea of somebody who is beholden to a foreign lobby if you can, if you're trying to emphasize a campaign on America first. But if there's somebody who it's revealed is beholden to a foreign lobby, that can be that doesn't exactly appeal to any sense of jingoism on the right wing. And then on the left, there's the issue of, are these policy platforms advocated by this group what we on the left want to lend our names to, what we stand for, and what are done in our names? So there are arguments that can be crafted to appeal to various sectors of the political spectrum. And I think it really needs to come out as a campaign issue. Who is funding these candidates? And what do these candidates stand for? Do these candidates on the right wing, is it a candidate who stands for us availing our resources to the service of a foreign state? Or, do we allocate our resources at home? I mean, and that's a very important point to make politically. And one of the things that was brought up in last month's panel discussion was emphasis on nonviolence. And nonviolence only works against an adversary with a conscience. And if the prospect of doing harm wasn't effective, the occupier wouldn't do it. And the occupier's argument, or the argument that favors the occupiers, is that, resistance must be nonviolent, must be nonviolent, must be nonviolent. And I will note, I am not a proponent of violence, but this idea ends up making violence the prerogative of the occupier, because nobody is telling the occupier, you have to be less violent, you have to propagate your occupation in a peaceful and nonviolent manner. I mean, because the nature of occupation is an imposition by force. So this idea, and one of the things that in the attacks, when Gaza was being attacked by Israel, one of the things that really shook Zionists was that more and more people were coming forward saying, well, the Palestinians have the right to armed resistance under international law. And I know I was on Twitter, and I have a list of links, and I have memes cataloged and memes made in photo collage that say, they have a right to armed resistance against occupation and colonialism under international law. So when there is a lack of sympathy for the occupier, when violence is committed against the occupier, that really does shake them, because it kind of, shakes them a little bit off of their high horse. And there was one argument on Twitter, like when Pakistan had captured, I guess, some Indian pilots or some Indian spies. There on the Twitter sphere, the Hindutva shills were saying, well, why were they tried by a military tribunal? Why not a civil court? Why was it a military tribunal? And people buy into that as though Pakistan were doing something wrong. But here's the thing. Now, speaking as a military retiree myself, if you're in the military, you are covered under the Third Geneva Convention, which says if you are captured by an adversary, you are tried by a military tribunal. And also, you are not treated the same as a civilian. So when there were people who were touting the Pulwama attack in February of, I think it was 2019, as a terrorist attack. Well, under the US code, a terrorist attack is violence committed against civilian non-combatants. And the targets in the Pulwama attack were lawful military combatants, and so they were perfectly legal to attack. So it was not terrorism. It did not meet the definition of terrorism, but acting as though the occupiers had this status of civilian under the Geneva Conventions where they are not allowed to have any acts of armed resistance against them is absurd. And it's actually a colonialist argument, like, oh, how dare you? Like, there are classes of people against which you can commit acts of violence and classes of people who are in which you cannot. And that's something that really does shake an occupation, is global support for the indigenous resistance and saying, you know, we don't care if you're harmed. You're doing something that you're not supposed to be doing, and they have a right to defend themselves. And that really does shake them, because like I said, if violence and the use of force were not effective, they wouldn't use it. So we can't turn away from that.
No, absolutely. I mean, thank you, Tara, for your wonderful words. And from military perspective, I mean, for me, it's a learning point. I can just listen to you so carefully, and I'll probably listen to it again and again, throughout this month.
Well, one of the things that also we have to be careful of in the international community is that part of the reason that the West tends to lean more toward India is because to the Western way of thinking, India is a counterweight against China. It's like, oh, here are a whole bunch of brown people who are dispensable that we can throw against China. And the fact of Pakistan and CPEC seeking a tighter relationship with China, I mean, because China is their neighbor and China has invested in them, and that's fair. And the idea of sectors in the U.S. leaning more toward India as a counterweight toward China, because India otherwise has very little strategic value to anybody due to the isolation from the Himalayan range, the Karakoram range, and the Thar Desert. There's just really not a lot of strategic advantage, whereas with Pakistan, with the Indus River Valley and the mountain passes, that is a very strategically important location. So that's another thing to be aware of from a foreign policy standpoint, is the extent to which India is being looked at as a counterweight against China, whereas previously, when India was seeking tighter relations with the Soviet Union, the US was leaning a lot more toward Pakistan as a counterweight against the former Soviet Union. So these things are also very important political factors that have to be considered and that have to be mitigated.
Of course. Your points are, very much, notable, because our campaign, I mean, obviously, I've been a long campaigner. I think impartial campaigns where we can have the flags of USA, and flag of United Kingdom as well, the Union Jack, and Pakistan and Kashmir, India, and that would give, on social media, it would give people some kind of a sense that, all these people are impartial campaigners, and we just want, but obviously the civilians can't be armed, and we can't be armed, and we can only do, peaceful protests, and we can find a peaceful solution. There's no other way for us to make progress. So I think that's a very good point, that if you agree with me, that we do our live protests with all these countries, the flags, and that would give us an impartial campaign, where US and UK help India, and where China and Russia kind of help Pakistan or Iran, you can say. And it was in our society, the people more tend to like non-Muslim countries, and like perhaps in this our Kashmir campaign would like if you can find some kind of solution with India.
Well, there is also another complicating factor, and this is something that just kind of really comes out of left field, is one of the most virulently anti-Pakistani lobbies in the US is the Armenian lobby, because of Pakistan's alliance with Azerbaijan, who has committed pogroms and oppression against the indigenous Armenians in Azerbaijan, because Armenians are the indigenous people of the region, I mean, living there for like thousands of years. And Azeris are a mixture of Turk and Persian and Mede, and they did not exist as a distinctive ethnicity until like at least the 11th century. And so the Armenian, and I keep going after them on Twitter for them trying to curry favor with India. And in fact, every time I come across something where India demonstrates anti-Christian persecution, I bring it up to the Armenian lobby saying, these are not the people with whom you want to curry favor. And also the Armenian lobby, because of the issue of Artsakh has many factors in common with Kashmir, that they're an indigenous people whose land was claimed by another country, facilitated by a third country, a European country, facilitated by a former Soviet Union, in order to curry favor with Turkey. So Artsakh, which is our indigenous Armenian land, was allocated to Azerbaijan after the Bolshevik Revolution, when the Soviet Union was being established. The Artsakhis, also known as the people of Nagorno-Karabakh, were never asked if they wanted to belong to Azerbaijan, and they were so strident about that they were made an autonomous region of Azerbaijan under the former Soviet Union. And then after the fall of the former Soviet Union in 1988, they held a referendum and they voted to accede to Armenia. But Moscow did not allow that. And then they later declared independence, and they are under the security, they've been under the security protection of Armenia. But here, and PTI did this really boneheaded thing of, they were celebrating Azerbaijan Victory Day when Azerbaijan supposedly took that land back, land where they were not the indigenous people and whose indigenous people never wanted to belong to Azerbaijan. And I pointed that out, that's like, somebody, that would be like Armenia celebrating the abrogation of Article 370. And I pointed out to Azerbaijan, it's like, you could ally your movement with Palestinian self-determination and with Kashmiri self-determination, and the fact that Azerbaijan is armed by Israel, who also arms India, and where a lot of the Muslim world, despite the governments wanting to normalize relations with Israel, the people really don't. And so I keep telling them, you need to stop doing this. You need to stop trying to curry favor with India. You need, you have more in common with Pakistan, and you need to stop lobbying against them when you guys could work together. And crossing communal lines, that is a really powerful argument for the objective right of self-determination.
No, absolutely. Thank you for that. I mean, Azerbaijan and Armenia, I read something about that, the Pakistan's definitely Pakistan's support has helped the region. I think we can get them to help the Kashmir region as well. Maybe it's more. So,
well, the thing is, the Armenian lobby has been, they had been tagging the Hindu American Foundation in some of their calls to elected officials to sanction Pakistan and to put Pakistan on the FATF blacklist. So and I have gone, I mean, I support Artsakhi self-determination because I support it objectively as a human right for Kashmiris, for Palestinians, for Artsakhi. I mean, I cross religious lines to do that. I mean, I'm a Christian and I support Palestinian and Kashmiri self-determination, as well as for my co-religionists in Artsakh. So, but like I said, I mean, they have been very strident on their anti-Pakistani rhetoric. And you can see sometimes how the Hindu American Foundation has been holding their leash by the pattern of how they're being tagged in it. And I've gotten into countless Twitter fights with Indians and Azerbaijanis on Twitter. Yeah, see, Claire's kind of like, yeah, she knows. She knows. Sometimes I even wake up to messages from her. It's like, could you please go after?
What about the MPs? You know, I mean, Claire and my point of getting the elected mayors and MPs on this platform, so we can come up, we can share this video with them as well, so they can come up, you know, with an idea, so we can, you know, achieve a peaceful solution. I think I can only see 4 people here, so I think I can see Sister Ghazala Khan. Can you have your 5 minutes, please?
Yes, please. Yes, please. I totally agree with both speakers. They spoke very well and they explained the whole case very good manners. And I believe that bringing peace in the world is not possible until and unless you can resolve the disputed areas issues. So even it is a Palestine, if it is the Azerbaijan, if it is the Azad Kashmir, which is occupied. So according to the UN Sustainable Development Goal 16, as the UN wants us to develop a peaceful and just full societies and inclusive societies. So if the UN demand us and ask for the Sustainable Development Goal, and they also ask the countries to should implement till 2030. So if they are so serious and if they are very sincere to the word, so we would like to put this point in front of the UN, that if you have this agenda on your Sustainable Development Goal number 16 and you want to prevail the peace and justice, so please bring all the leaders, all the diplomats and all the leadership who are in the position to solve this issue. It is not a difficult task. You just need a sincere leadership and who are willing to resolve it and would not like to play politics on these issues. So it can be done if they are sincere with this. So without solving and bringing these all on the table is not possible. I would suggest that we should start a movement. We should speak on the platform of the UN, asking them if the Sustainable Development Goal is 16 is very important to them, and they want inclusive societies, sustainable societies, and they want to prevail the peace and justice, and their target is 2030. So please first of all, bring these disputed areas on the table and solve their issue, because live and let live. I think this is the ideology of the free human being, and give them a right, whatever they want, and how they want to live, and with whom they want to live. So bringing all these leadership, diplomats, and of course the youth leadership is very important, because future is there, and we have to train our youth so that they can fight this against these challenges. And these are all my suggestions, and you are the expert on this panel, and I would like to ask you all that please put these issues on the UN table. Yes.
No, the United Nations organization point is absolutely when bringing the all the disputed regions on the table, and so they can actually speak about it. And that's a very good point. Very good point. And obviously, we do agree with you. If we can quickly mention, what we've been speaking about, the MPs and the elected mayors and our campaigns, and what Laura said in reference to what we can achieve. Likes of Azerbaijan and Armenia, where Pakistan has helped them, so Pakistan can help. So we can actually ask UNO to
Yes.
support Pakistan in reference to them. We have some idea of what Pakistan can actually achieve as well, and on a peaceful solution.
Well, India has managed rhetorically to isolate Pakistan very effectively by touting, I mean, and like when they partly funded the movie Gandhi coming out in the early to mid 80s, they have been very diligent about framing themselves as these peaceful, harmless, kind of spiritually elevated people surrounded by these hostile neighbors, and Israel frames itself the same way. I mean, they're very consistent in the way the occupiers try to frame themselves, is that, we're the peaceful people, we're the relative leaders of human rights in the region, we're the democracies, these other people are these hostiles all out to get us. And that's the thing. And one of the aspects of supremacism is that at its basis, how they market those ideologies is by ginning up some kind of this rhetoric of an existential threat against them. And in white supremacism, it's the same way, is that, oh, these scary brown people are out to commit white genocide, and the Jews are somehow helping them do this, and Israel is helping them, somehow do this. And so, and part of, and corollary to that is that it also stomps on women's rights and LGBT rights, because it's like, oh, if we're under this imminent threat of genocide, then our procreative collective commodities all have to be protected, meaning, cordoned off and denied access for mainstream society, because we need to protect our breeding capacity. So that kind of misogyny goes hand in hand with supremacist thinking as well.
Thank you. Sister Ghazala, would you like to say a few words on that or not?
Yes, of course, there is lobbying. There is a huge group of peoples who are doing lobbying, and they try to cut the different streams of Pakistan from becoming a strategic country and becoming a independent country, because at this moment Pakistan is suffering from different financial crises, and economically Pakistan is very restricted. Some, I can say that because of the leadership's decisions and lack of our foreign policies, and some because of the propagandas and the lobbying of the different countries who have their own different interest in the region to demolish the movement of Kashmir. So these are the points which need to address that. If we can start our movement from society and bring it to the grassroots level, we involve our youth and we involve our common people, even the housewives, even those who have the voice and who want to speak up. We can make it a global movement and can make a better platform where our voice can be raised and our voice can be heard.
Absolutely. Lobbying is a very,
Yes.
very, very important thing for us, and it's going to stay with us until for the next program as well. And I think we want to
Yes.
find out, then we can invite some MPs as well, and perhaps like who are friends of Kashmir. And
Yeah, I would suggest to invite the foreign ministers and the ministers who are supposed to deal on these points and who need to speak on these points, and they are I think they are not backing up these logics, and they are not working on these points, and they're just keeping quiet because it is their duty. So the diplomats, the ambassadors and the leaders, what is their duty? So they are supposed to stand for that.
Well, we have to push them, we have to invite them, and we have to question them. So unless we do that, we don't want to get anywhere. But obviously, the main major point is for us to raise the awareness with them and ask them. Obviously, unless a number of people, they're like it's, with the MPs, it's constituency, but with the mayors, I think we might be able to, get like Newcastle mayor or in Bradford and stuff like that, Glasgow, to work together, and they can come on our platform as well. So my other, if you can quickly move forward, but obviously we've been running for 55 minutes now. So I can't see anybody apart from Claire, Laura, and Ghazala. Can you guys see anybody else out there who's willing to come on? There's only 4 of us. There's only 4 of us. Sister Shivana, can you come in?
I think maybe because of internet issues they left and couldn't join again. I can't see.
Yeah, because it's a new one. We normally use Zoom, and everybody's familiar with that now. And I think we need to stay on Zoom. Rather than, I think because it was Sunday, and might be difficult. But I think next month we need to book straight away. And we need to share the ID card and passwords. ID number and passwords, so they can actually people can come on. So let's if there's only 4, let's obviously Sister Shivana is on the background, and we can actually. And Laura, what about what kind of practical help can you provide this like solidarity for Kashmir?
I couldn't hear the first part of it.
I said, what's the kind of support or help can you provide to have this particular group have some speakers come on this platform, some MPs or some governors, mayors?
Well, I recently relocated to a state that's more conservative than the one I came from. What I have been doing is I've been on Twitter trying to evolve the narrative where India doesn't have the control over it that it once did. And now anyone I have invited to let Kashmir decide, as far as group invitations, have been people outside of Kashmir in Pakistan trying to bring attention outside of the bubble of Kashmir, India, and Pakistan. So I have invited fellow Americans and people from Europe and people from elsewhere in the world into the site, and also in social media posting. One of the things is trying to find content in English explaining the situation and providing curation to people in the global community, explaining what the situation is, because a lot of the content that ends up being forwarded, like especially like on the WhatsApp groups or within some of the pro-Kashmir groups, has been in Urdu, which isn't really helpful as far as propagating the message to the outside world, to parties who don't feel bound in any way by the Simla agreement, who buy into that and say, oh, well, it's just a bilateral dispute. It's just a bilateral dispute of, between India and Pakistan. And to refute that, I mean, we have to kind of go outside of that bubble and bring in parties that, well, no, we're not a party to this, and we see objectively from what the UN's determination is, this is not a bilateral dispute. So I think that that's helpful as far as reaching outside of that bubble.
So can we? What about Sister Clavidia, can I bring you in? What about the language for this platform that we can use if we are making progress? So we need, should we stick to English, and if any Urdu speaker or any other language speaker comes on, then it will
Yeah, I
be,
think
it will be the
uh-huh.
translator.
I definitely think we should do it in English. I do know that there are some people, obviously, and you know, if we want to do this internationally, there could also be people with other languages. So I think that those that cannot express themselves as well in English and want to do Urdu, that's fine. But then what would be really good is if you sum up what they've said afterwards, just so that then, you know, we know at the end of it. So you could say they made 3 points, and just so that it is then said in English. I guess equally, if we had somebody come on that was French and wanted to speak in French, we would need to get a translator on. So I don't think we should alienate anybody through language. However, it's vitally important to reach beyond the Kashmiris and those that know already the Asian community and bring it out into the Western world. And sadly, you know, we're not as able in our language skills out here, again, probably down to white supremacy. Everybody has to learn English, but we don't have to learn everything else. So it's important that it is in English so we do understand, I think. I mean, there's a couple of things I want to allude to that's been mentioned as well. You know, we've been working now, and Laura's been by my side for the last just over 2 years now with Let Kashmir Decide. And I think, you know, within that, we have built a movement that, and we've worked with MPs and we've worked with Lords, and they have supported the movement. I've had a video footage from Afzal Khan, Paul Bristow, who's the chair of Conservative Friends of Kashmir, has also been there. And then with Lee and Mary, we've got the Global Humanitarian Mandate, which everybody should be able to stand around. You know, its first focuses are freeing the political prisoners and ensuring the troops are out. And so we're going to be over the next 6 months trying to get people to endorse that. I think it's like there are so many different movements, organizations, groups happening. And I think it's vital that we don't reinvent the wheel in terms of, you know, and it's just keep working together, because obviously there doesn't seem to be one group that everybody can get behind. We like the idea, certainly, of Let Kashmir Decide. Anybody can be Let Kashmir Decide, you know, regardless of who you
Thank
are.
you.
Where
If
you
you can just keep it brief, I think we got Sister Asfa Ali, who have not been. I think the thing we have, Sister Shabana might be able to see, you know, some people are waiting to come in, and she has to take somebody out to actually let somebody else in.
Oh, okay. I'll back out for a little while. I'll go and refresh my cup of tea.
Okay.
Let me back in a couple of minutes.
Sister Asfa Ali, can I ask you that, you know, if we just use English only for this platform, if any Urdu speakers or any other language speakers come, they need to be translated. So main language for this program is English. You agree with that?
Well, I think as Claire, she says it should be translated in English afterwards. I think that's a good idea as well. But I think as we are working on to run the issue on international levels, so I think around the globe people speaks different languages. As Claire says, if we could have a little, you know, if we like collect some points what the Urdu speaker or the other speakers are expressing, that would be a good idea. And I think I agree to that. But I think if we say people should only speak English, it could be a difficult to bring more people in, because not everybody speaks English, as I cannot speak other than English, Urdu and Punjabi, any other language. I think there are quite people like that as well. I think it's okay to let people come in with other languages. And I'll repeat the same word again. Like, you know, it would be a good idea to sum up their ideas on what they said and, you know, what kind of ideas they have bring up. I think I'm okay what she's saying. And that's actually a positive thing to bring up like everybody on the same platform.
Sister Asfa, I think you are in Glasgow, isn't it? You're
No,
in
I am actually in Edinburgh, the capital city of
Edinburgh. I'm sorry. I mean,
Scotland.
I listened to the last month's program, and I have you done a heartfelt speech. So, what kind of a solution do you have for Kashmir then? How can we move forward?
As you know, I was hearing from other people, Miss Claire and Laura as well. They were all speaking about like to spread the word out, as we can use social media, and as I think early on we were, even though in the last program also we decided to speak up to the local councillors, local MPs, local political powers to raise up the issue. And I think it's not only a good idea, this is actually a need as well to bring up the issue, because I know as people, you or many more people who are not even on the camera, they are feeling the same pain for Kashmiris, but people are not bringing the issues on political level, and some only people like fever of the people are bringing on social media. But I think it's actually we have to take it to the United Nations and Security Council, with this strong support from the political panel. I think I know human rights are working greatly, but I think we need a basic and super support from the political panel. That's my opinion.
No, absolutely, it is. It is. It is. I mean, there is the social media
Yeah,
empowers the local communities.
yeah.
And the local communities here, we are, from Edinburgh, Middlesbrough, and Laura, you are in New York, is it?
No, I'm actually out in rural Virginia, about an hour and a half west of Washington, D.C.
Quite close to the superpower city, Washington.
Virginia.
Well, some
I'm
of those
sorry.
exits on the freeway
I
can
think
get
if
tricky.
we are fairly new, I think we're going to get familiarized with our regions, because this is only the second program into our campaign in Zoom meetings, or like this one, StreamYard, I think it's called .com. This is StreamYard.com is a new one as well. So it's good. I've just learned as this is a platform. I didn't know that before. However, thank you, Sitas, for Ali. Can we move on? Do we have anybody else waiting to come on and speak or not? Please. I don't think we're gonna. How about what? I think we've been on for over an hour. So what kind of thoughts you guys have? If you can just raise your hand like this, what kind of thoughts do you have? The timing. Claire,
Sorry, the timing of.
the program that we're doing. When
I
do
think
you want the
I
program
think
to
we
finish?
should wrap up for today's one, because we don't seem to have anybody else there. Depending on how many of us are here, but somewhere between an hour and 2 hours if we're having a discussion over meetings. I feel that today we've covered, we've shared some of our ideas, we've shared our solidarity, which is most important, and we've got some ideas for next steps. We're keeping our links, and hopefully people out there have listened and will be sharing, ideas and taking action with us with that too. So for today, thank you to all three of you here. I really appreciate all that you do. And to anybody out there that's listening, if anyone has any ideas or solutions, then please get in touch with any of us that are on here, because it's vital that we all work together. And for humanity's sake, we need to get this issue raised, and we need to stop the brutalities. And obviously, we believe that the self-determination is the
Yeah,
solution.
I agree with it. I agree with you, Claire. I think it's if you can keep this program for about an hour and 15 minutes, so it gives another 5 minutes to kind of wrap up and highlight what we have discussed, and we can that's the end of the program. But hopefully we can invite some of the people to come and join us next time. But I think we were expecting, like last time, there was I think a lot more people on. But obviously it was a fourth program, and everybody needs to familiarize with the program. So yeah, of course, we can minimize like the program to 1 hour perhaps, and 1 hour is like mainly so if everybody knows that we're only doing this program for 1 hour, and you know they can listen to it for half an hour, then half an hour later make program.
Yeah,
So it's
and
not
we could have a theme. We could even each week, each month there could be a particular theme. So maybe we want to talk about, how we can raise student awareness, or maybe we want to talk about how we can fight for the political prisoners. Maybe we want to talk about, cordon and search operations, or there could be something.
I
As
think
long as
inviting the MP or the mayors on this platform seems to be the idea forward, and that's what we need to achieve
Yes.
for next month or in February. By the time we definitely have somebody coming on and speaking with us, helping us along, we can brief them and perhaps and we can find some solution, and we
Totally.
however we can support them. Well, how do you feel about the live demonstrations? Then can we program maybe in a 2 months time, in February time, maybe we can have a live demonstration? No,
As opposed to do you mean do it 2 months, like not the 5th of January?
Yeah, but I think it's very, very important if we help with the live demonstrations. Then perhaps Laura can help us to have a live demonstration in the US. Then we can create from this platform.
Yeah, so you mean on the streets, not on social media?
Protest, yeah, on the street.
Yeah. Maybe springtime is a better to aim for.
You have to.
I mean,
you
certainly
have
in
to
the UK,
plan for
March,
2 months.
March, April, around Easter time is perhaps good.
So March time.
Gives us longer to build it and raise and try and get everybody out. I think it's a great idea that we should do something. We could even look at, I'd love to, it might involve money, sadly, which there doesn't seem to be a lot of it around, but it would be great to have a convention, a Kashmiri convention that's not politically based, that is humanitarian based. Let Kashmir decide or self-determination for Kashmiris should encompass everybody and everything. It would be great to bring people from across the UK for us that that care and bring them to that, to have their say, have their speak. So but yeah, an online whether we do something in different towns or whether we do something in one place, it would be a good idea to try and
No, I think
arrange
that's an idea, because I think it seems to be that we are doing most of the work, and if we can push it out, and perhaps like when we do we can look at like London, Edinburgh, or even like Newcastle, where we have the next demonstration. So some of the major, even PTI party in the UK can help us. Because how do you feel about that, Laura?
Well, I like I said, I live about an hour and a half outside. I mean, I can contact. I mean, one of the groups here, the one who organized the first pro-Kashmir rally I ever went to in August of 2019 was Stand with Kashmir. So I should probably reach out to them again.
Yes, if you can bring it on the table next month. But actually, if we do a rally or demonstration, we need to plan at least 3 months before. Okay, so now it's the 5th of December, so we're looking at 5th of January, then 5th of March. No, sorry, 5th of February, then 5th of March. Sister Claire has mentioned, but I'm agreeing for 5th of March as well. So perhaps we can,
with that respect for me, because I'm a teacher, I think the 2nd of April will be in my Easter holidays. So I would much rather favour April, gives us an extra month. I think we do have to recognise as well, though, there has been a big challenge on getting people out on the streets for Kashmir. If you look at the demonstrations that we've seen, London, Birmingham, wherever they are, they've actually declined over the 2 years. So we've also got some marketing work to do to encourage people to come out on the streets, but it also gives us time and opportunity to make our links with Palestinian activists, stop the war activists, peace people, and kind of build it through that. If we make a planned focused intention of this is what we're going to do. And I don't know whether COVID stopped people coming out. I don't know whether apathy stopped people coming out. I don't know whether it's the political movements, with their flags that stop people coming out. I don't know if it's because people don't think it's going to make a difference, but we need to get the numbers out. And, if we all did have a go at that and encouraged everybody that we have connections with to do that, then we've got the best chance, rather than trying to arrange something a week before or 2 weeks before. So I do like your idea.
No, that's what we need to do. Absolutely, yeah. That's what we need to do. If you can do a live demonstration, you need to be an MP and the parliamentarians leading, and that's when we do get out. The mayors or MPs or governors, they need to be them. They need to be on the street and they need to say something. If there is a lobby, we need to contact those people that are in the lobbies, and if they can. But if there's an MP here right now, we're speaking, we'll all be listening to him, and we have to follow his directions, and that's how it is. And,
well, I'm fairly confident we'd get Jeremy Corbyn. I'm sure he would come along if we reached out to him, and if we start from that basis, so we could make, aim high. Let's have a big Kashmiri convention somewhere, a big field, a big wherever we can, stage up, invite guest speakers. Let's start with Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana and Paul Bristow, Afzal Khan, all the ones that have been supporting Kashmir. And obviously their workload is so high. I don't think they've gone, oh, I'm not supporting Kashmir anymore. They've just got so much to support and deal with and stand up for. So it's just a case of, we've got something on the one day where they can come and raise their voice, then why not? Let's go for it.
Yes.
In my opinion, I think as we are planning to do some rallies on the road, I think it's a good idea, as we were discussing about outside the winter time, because winter time is quite difficult for people. As we know, it's a corona and the new, I think it's a variant Crohn, something else as well, came up. It is actually quite difficult at the moment to bring people up on the road for the rallies or for any campaign. Yes, we can carry on like as we are trying to do on monthly basis every 5th, or if we decide any other date. I think we can carry on till we actually are able to bring people out on the road ourselves. And also we can try to invite the people with strong political powers as well, I think.
I mean, there's lots going on that is so much. I'm sure you've got lots going on. All of us have got lots going on that's hard to share. But I'm joining a meeting after this at 4 o'clock with a gentleman that's been working over the last month or two, even longer, to do like a UK campaign, a lobby group, a united lobby group. So it's another one that's going on. He's been very careful, very methodical in his approach. To have it all, underlaid. So there's all this link work that can go on. We do have other soldiers somewhere, for want of a better word, where we can all bring this work together and link. So, I mean, I can share back.
Yeah. I think today's program, we would like to end up now, because I think it's the same.
Yeah, 11, it says like 1 hour and 20 minutes, perhaps, like 1.5.
I think we are just
Laura's few words. Laura's, we will say the few words on reference to any live demonstration that we can have. Perhaps I think, and then I'm gonna wrap up. Just a couple of words, please, Laura.
Yeah, no problem. I think
we can't hear you. Your mic is
I'm sorry, I had to let a neighbor cat out who seems to think she lives here.
Laura, I was looking around my house for my cat because I could hear it crying, and I thought, oh, the cat's locked in one of the rooms. Where is she? And then I realised it was your cat or your neighbour's cat.
Oh well, yeah, she seems to think she lives here. Well, I think we should just keep continuing our work of trying to bring people from the outside into the cause, and to refute the Indian narrative. I mean, I've amassed a lot of references regarding the Pandit exodus being something that was actually planned by the Indian government. I mean, just to undermine a lot of their claims that have sustained public support, or at least, you know, just complicity by apathy to their occupation.
Yep. Thank
So
you.
you want to finish up on a positive note. So I'll just I want to recap obviously to all three of you, like if anybody watching this program, you know, if you can make notes and help us come along. If you're invited, just contact any one of us or contact me, and you can come and speak on the program. We welcome you. And the main language is English, and if you speak any other language, then let us know. You can translate and put your points across. And I think
Thank you.
we
Thank you,
covered
Mr.
a lot
Taylor.
of points, and we need to watch these videos, and we need to wrap up very, very quickly because I think Claire, if you can open your mic as well, please. And I think what we need to do is like shout, you know, give ourselves, all four of us, you know, some kind of a momentum to free the Kashmir. I think I've been campaigning for a long time, and what actually worked, like when we say like free, and you guys say Kashmir, and I think to give us a bit, if you can say that about 3 times, and then we say everybody say bye bye, then we'll end the program. Is that, you all agree with that?
Thank you.
So free,
Kashmir.
free.
Kashmir.
Free Kashmir. Free Kashmir.
Kashmir,
Free
yeah.
Kashmir.
Well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
for
Thank you,
being a
everyone.
part of the program. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
My pleasure. Our pleasure.